Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here for another day of feathers, bills, songs, and calls. We have been learning about and appreciating birds this week. Here are some stuffed birds having a party in my yard. Do you know who they are? I'll tell you, from left to right. Goldfinch, black-capped chickadee, hummingbird, bluebird, robin, blue jay, and cardinal. In real life, these birds are not all the same shape and size. Here is a piece of a tree with large holes made by a, yes, woodpecker. Some are so big I can stick my hand inside. Usually I keep poems in there. When we spend a lot of time outside, we can sometimes find things that once belonged to birds. Here you can see from right to left a northern flicker feather, a blue jay feather, and a bit of an egg. I'm not sure whose it was. Look for nests too. Here's our old milk house. You know who's in there. The chicks.
Hello, 4th and 5th grade Wild Riders of Mamaroneck. We're in the chicken house, and we're in here because, well, there are birds in here. The chicks are getting bigger and bigger every day. I'll show you what they're looking like. We're also in here because it's super windy outside. So I thought, where's a good sheltered place that I could meet with the writers and have a little bird song? So listen. Can you hear their peeping? It's still really tiny, and we're still not sure if they're all hens, if some are roosters, if they're all roosters. There's 16 of them in there, and we don't know. And the way we'll know is when some start to crow. So that's the way we'll be able to tell, because that's how we check. But my husband couldn't remember it if he ordered them all girls. So I guess we'll just wait and see. Maybe next week I'll know. But today I'd like to take a second to show you how I went back into my pages. This week we talked about listing birds that we know live near where we live, so that birds that we can see regularly. And I did point you toward the Sawmill River Audubon website, because there's that list of 30 most common birds in Westchester that you can visit and learn about birds that live near you. If you click through those, it'll take you to All About Birds, which is the Cornell Lab of Ornithology at Cornell University. And you can learn all kinds of facts and hear songs and learn tons of things about whatever bird you're interested in that lives near you. So we talked a little bit about that. I had my list of birds from home, and I imagine you have a list of birds you know live near you, and keep adding to this. I'm still adding to mine as I remember other birds I know or as I learn new birds. I also had a little T-chart here. I had jotted down that I was curious about the difference between songs and calls. You'll hear, and I'll hear people say, oh, that's a bird song, or that bird is making a call. And so I jotted down, I looked up at baynature.org, had a good description that I could understand easily about the difference. And what it said was that songs are often males trying to attract females with their beautiful music. Or they're saying, this is my territory, or can you hear me? Can you hear me? And so that's songs, but calls are not as musical. They're simpler, and they tend to say, they tend to give information about location, like where I am or where something is, a warning, maybe warning other creatures that something's nearby. Maybe warning their enemies, that like if it's a bird that makes a very loud, scary call, it scare other birds away or other animals away. And we know woodpeckers can make like a hammering sound. So songs are the longer, more melodic, beautiful sounds that we hear. That's either saying, this is my territory, or I'm such a handsome bird, I'm such a handsome bird. And then calls are shorter, giving information type bird sounds. It's the best way that I'm understanding it right now. So jotting this helped me understand that. And if you might remember, I had written, I do not like the sounds of mowers and trucks. That interferes with my bird song listening and my bird call listening, but it is part of living in a community. So I did add some color to my pages. You can see here both pencil and watercolors. And then I did do small, simple sketches about the 5 birds that I wanted to try to get to know better. So the crow and raven, I confused those. And one thing I learned, and this was at birdnote.org, is that the crow has a smaller tail and it's shaped like a fan. and that the raven has a larger tail that's shaped more like a diamond. So that little sketches, those will help me. Those sketches will help me. Downy and hairy woodpeckers, they were confusing for me too. The hairy woodpecker does not have white spots on its outside of its tail, and the downy does. I'll be looking for that. And phoebes, gray on top, white underneath, little puff balls. I'm pretty sure now that those are the ones that I'm always seeing when I walk the dogs in the pasture. They sit on the fence lines, and I've always thought, those are such cute, pudgy little birds, and I hadn't looked them up, but I'm thinking, yep, those are phoebes. And I'm now curious as I talk to you about male and female phoebes and how I'll know the difference when I look at them from a distance. So the Sawmill River Audubon website I highlighted here will direct you to lots of information as you continue to learn, because I suggest keeping adding to these pages and extending your knowledge about birds. And the poem pages, I added watercolor too. You could, if you're learning lots of facts about birds and then writing poems about those birds, you could absolutely make a poem book about birds. And if you have siblings in your family that are at K through 5, not just you together could make a book of birds. Your class could make a book of bird poems and bird facts. You could make a field guide to the birds around your school or around your home or in your neighborhood. Birds are a great joy. They're beautiful, they're interesting, they're funny sometimes, they have interactions with each other just like people do, and we don't understand them when we don't pay attention. But the more we look, the more we watch, the more we write, the more we talk with people who know, the more we read and research, the more we understand them. And so I encourage you to keep birding, and next week I'll see you again and we'll talk about trees.
I wish you a great time nature journaling this week. We can write bird stories and cartoons. We can make lists of birds we know and write what we're curious about and then do research. We can write bird poems inspired by what we notice, wonder, by facts and our senses and comparisons and our feelings. If you wish to do something kind for birds, you might give them some food or leave them some water, or you can even put some strings out on a tree like I did here. These natural colored pieces of yarn might be picked up by birds for nests. Be sure they're natural colored. Maybe make a bird blind from a big box or a table and a blanket. You might take an old book or a new book, a set of binoculars, or just your good eyes and watch the birds. Right wild as a bird, my Mamaroneck friends.